Hey guys, my name is Alexandra Valentine and you're welcome to my channel. Here we post all things sewing tutorial, sewing hacks, lifestyle and whatnot. For my returning subscribers, you are welcome once again. So in today's video, we are going to be cutting and sewing this waistcoat that you saw earlier. So in our last video, we went about the pattern drafting and also cutting of the pattern or transferring the pattern to a fabric. So this is the fabric that we cut out in our last video. So let's just go ahead now and continue with the process of sewing. So the back is going to have this adjustable strap. So I'm just trying to illustrate how the strap is going to look like. So it's going to be on both sides of the back part. So that fabric, that this strap is quite too long, so I just need it to overlap once so that it will be able, like, it will not be too much when you want to adjust. So for the way it unfold, I made use of 2.5 inches. Then for the length, I made use of 6 inches. So I'm just cutting on that 6 inches, cutting out the excess of the strap. I'm also transferring same measurements to the second strap. So once that is done, we are just going to keep this back part aside and then work on the remaining pieces for the front part, which is for the pocket. Okay, so these are the pieces I've been using. So again, the weight for each or for this is 2.5 inches, then the length is about 10 to 11 inches or 8 inches. So it should be long. The length should be longer than the hot pocket you're making so that you'll be able to trim out the excess. So I will be needing that 4 pieces, okay? Then I'll also be needing unfold 1 inch of fabric, and the length should also be 8 inches. Like, it should be longer than the length of the welt pocket you're going for, okay? So from the waistcoat we are recreating, you observe that there is a dart there and the dart is starting from the bust point. So this is me just placing my tape at the shoulder to mark my bust point where our dart is starting from. Then I'm also going to go ahead now to mark out my 1 inch for my button allowance so that I will know what where our fabric or our waistcoat is actually starting from. Okay, so I've done that, and then I'm going to be marking my nipple to nipple measurement from that line, this line that I just wrote right now. So my nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches, so I'm just going to place 4 inches on that line, then mark it on the bust point line. I'm also going to extend that bust point line, but I'm right now marking the that, then I'll connect all those points into a straight line. I'm also extending the bust point line into a horizontal line so that it will be very visible that that's the bust point line. And you can see the way my that leg is going all the way from the bust point and it's ending at the waist area, which is where our world pocket is located at. So the next thing to do is to open up that line, and to do that I'll have to make a little notch across the waistline so that I'll be able to open up the that leg. Okay, so I'm just making a little notch across the waistline like this, and then I'm going to cut open through the dart leg. So if I'm cutting open through the dart leg, I will also make sure not to get all the way to the bust point, okay, because I don't want my dart to be starting from the bust point, so I want it to be a little bit lower. Then I'll go ahead to stitch this down. So I've gone ahead to stitch it down, and I've also opened the seam. So the next thing to do now is to sew in our welt pocket. Now to do that, we'll be needing the pieces that we cut out earlier, those 4 pieces, and then the flat 4 pieces, and then the two folded for 2 pieces. So what we'll be doing now is to draw a straight line at just any position, okay? But so when we draw a straight line, then we are going to be marking the length of the pocket. So for mine, it's going to be 5 inches length of the pocket or width of the pocket. rather, so 5 inches. Then on that 5 inches I'm going to be marking it. Then I'm also going to draw a straight line on that point as well. So once that is done, we are going to also be drawing a straight line from one line to the other. Does that make sense? We're going to be drawing a straight line to just connect one line to the other, and then also draw another straight line at the top of it. So just making sure that it's like half inch apart from each other. Okay. Now, once that is done, I'm just going to go ahead to cut out the excess. Okay, so that's the reason why I say you can start from anywhere to draw your first line, because the rest is just going to be excess and you're going to cut it out. So now I'm just going to take this piece of fabric that we are working with, and I'll align it on the waistline. Okay, so you see that place that notch is here, that's where it's going to be. But you want to take note very well on how the placement is, because it's a little bit tricky and not really balanced because of the dart intake. Okay, so for the placement, it's not going to be on the middle of the piece of fabric. Okay, so we are just going to be placing 1 inch away, 1 inch of the fabric, or the beginning of the piece of fabric, on the dart leg towards the button allowance. I don't know if that makes sense, but just notice that the both side of the piece of the fabric is not equal. So the shorter side is towards the button allowance, and then the longer side is towards the joining or the stitching allowance. So what you're just going to do is to use your, what's it called, your pins, to hold this in place so that it will not be shaking. And you can also control how flat it will be by like using your pins to hold it down. Now once that is done, we're going to go ahead to stitch around this line, this rectangular line. So I've gone ahead to do just that. I've stitched around the line. So now I'm going to be using my scissors to cut open the middle of where we stitched. So I'm just taking out the pins now so that I'm able to cut this open. And to do that, we are just going to fold the fabric into two like this, and then just make a little bit of notch. Then we'll go ahead to open it up to make the end. We've opened it up. We are just going to cut the inner corners. Remember that this is like a rectangle, so you cut the inner corners just to give it like more like a triangle, okay, on both sides. So we've done for this part, and then we're also going to cut the other part as well. So by the time we are done, we'll just fold this inside. Then we'll go ahead to give it a very good press. Then after that, we'll just flip it over to the back side to continue the wet pocket. Now we'll take the piece of fabric that we folded. Remember, they are like three pieces of fabric for just one part. So the one that was folded, we'll place it on it and cover up that opening that is there. Then take our pin to hold that in place. So we'll be holding just the pieces of fabric aside the main jacket, okay, something like this. Then you pin it down. So once you pin this down, we'll also go ahead to the sewing machine and stitch here. So you see that little triangle notch that is there, we are going to stitch all of it together. Then we'll also repeat the same thing to the other side as well. Now that once that is done, we'll then stitch the long side to the fabric. So we'll take away the main jacket, then we'll stitch this long side and also stitch at the top as well. So now we've done that, we've stitched the two short side and the bottom part as well. So while you're stitching, you want to make sure that it's actually really close, like, do you get? So done that, then I'm also going to go ahead now to trim out the excess. So at the end of the day, your welt pocket should be looking like this. So since this is an invisible pocket, or not a functional pocket, we are going to have to cover up the back. So we'll take the remaining piece of fabric that is for this pocket, place it on top of it, then we'll stitch this side, stitch along the long side, stitch the other short side, and at the top as well. All of it together, except from the main jacket, of course. So by the time we are done, we just trim out the excess, and that is all for this non-functional welt pocket. Now that that is done, we'll just go ahead now to turn the two front parts with our lining. So I've also gone ahead to, in our last video, we cut out the lining. So what I'm just going to do is to place the lining on the front part or the right side of the jacket, the front jacket. Okay, then we are going to stitch around the neck, then around the across the button area, then stitch out this V just with half of an inch. Then when we are done, we'll turn it out. Don't mind that it's rough now. I was shooting this tutorial when there was no light. Then we'll also repeat the same thing to the other parts of the jacket as well. I've done just that, and this is what it's looking like. So you just go ahead to give this a very good press so that it will have a neat finish. So we'll keep this aside now and then work on the back. To now continue with the back, it's going to have an adjustable strap around the waist area, and in order to achieve that, we'll have to align both the lining and the fabric together like this, because we'll have to cut open the dart. So I want to cut that together at once. So I'm going to fold the both of them on a fold of two, and then proceed to marking where my dart is. So from the open edge, I'm going to be marking 4 inches, which is the distance between my nipple points. The distance between my nipple points is 7 inches divided by 2, 3.5 plus half of an inch for stitching allowance. So that's 4 inches. Now, this is going to be stopping at the bust point, and that line I just drew earlier was the bust point measurement. Then on that line, I also mark the 4 inches, then connect it to the 4 inches on the waistline. Okay, then I'm going to use this line now as a guide to cut this open. Remember I said I was going to cut this open, not to stitch it down, just to cut it open so that um we'll be able to place our adjustable strap in between them. And then this is what it looks like. Now I'll just go ahead now to take the strap that I'm working with. This is going to be on a fold of two, so I will be able to close it up. Okay, then for the length I'll be making use of 6 inches for the length, so I'll be needing two straps as well. Then I'll go ahead now to stitch like this and like this, just leave the other end open so that we'll be able to turn it out from there. Now once that is done, we are going to on the back jackets, we are going to be marking out where our waist falls on, because it's on the waist area that that strap is going to go in. So this is me just marking it out, and it's around there that I'm just going to place my strap, and then go ahead now to stitch close the dart. Okay, then I'll also go ahead to repeat the same thing on this other side of the dart as well. Just to save time, I'm going to skip that part. Now once that is done, we are going to go ahead now to stitch the lining that close. Remember that we cut both the front and the back that open. So we are going to go ahead to stitch this close, and that's just it. So when you're done with that, you should have something like this. So just go ahead now to give it a very good press for a neat and final result. Now on this adjustable strap, we are going to be placing a button here just for us to be able to adjust it to our desired fitting. Okay, then we've also gone ahead to also stitch down the lining part, and we'll just use this lining part to turn the main fabric. So we'll go ahead now to stitch around the neckline, the armhole, and also at the hem of the jacket, leaving just the sides open, because we'll from that side be able to turn out the jacket. Okay, so we've done just that, and this is what it's looking like. You can go ahead now to notch out the area that have curves. So now we'll just turn this out, then we'll give it a very good press. So if you are recreating this and you've gotten to this part of the tutorial, well done, because we are almost done. So kindly give this video a huge thumbs up, and also share it to as many people that might find this video helpful. And do not forget to subscribe. Subscribe, please. Now back to the video. We are going to give this a very good press, and then you can see I'm just trying to stretch it out because there's really no electricity as when I was shooting. Then I'm going to go um ahead now to join the front and the back together. And to do that, we are going to be stitching close the side and then joining the shoulder. To close the side, we'll be using 2 inches because it was 2 inches stitching allowance we added while we were drafting. Then we'll use half of an inch to stitch close the shoulder, or to stitch join the shoulder. Then we'll also repeat the same thing on the other side as well. So now that that is done, this is what we have it looking like. The shoulder has been joined together and also the side as well. So you want to go ahead to give this a very good press for a more finished and nicer look. So we just go ahead now to just sew in your buttons and buttonholes, and then also the buttons and buttonholes for the adjustable strap. And that's just basically it. So if you find this video very helpful, kindly give this video a huge thumbs up, and also share to whoever you think might also find this very helpful too. And don't forget to join the family by hitting on the subscribe button. You can also send me your um creation videos using this tutorial on Instagram, using my Instagram. And until next time, bye.